It's always the first time, and I always making experiments. I always trying. I'm trying again. I try to express things.
The Hour of the Wolf is one of those beautiful, gothic, scary use of words. I mean, but they're so suggestive. And that terrible hour, around 3 a.m, when people tend to die at that hour, babies tend to be born. But it's also the time when people wake and can't sleep, or if they're asleep, they're dealing with terrible nightmares. A time maybe where the subconscious goes wild on them. It's a wonderful description for this movie of a man who's prey to all the monsters that come out. The Hour of the Wolf. After he's done Persona, which says ingenting, is all nothing.
Ingenting.
He's deconstructed film. Bergman makes Hour of the Wolf, and he's still on the island of his beloved island of Faroe, and with Liv Ullmann.
After Persona, Ingmar and I decided we would live together, but I had some thoughts, I don't think I can do that. And I was even pregnant with his child. And I said, I don't think I can do that. I cannot leave Norway.
I saw an earlier version of it called The Cannibals. I think was rather the same script. He worked at that script for 2 years, I think, or something like that, doing other things all the time also, but this script was rather difficult.
I went back to Oslo and stayed there. And then suddenly came this new script in the mail, and it wasn't The Cannibals. He had rewritten it and called it The Hour of the Wolf. And it was about this still innocent woman, but now she was pregnant. And she goes through this nightmare of a story. And he said, okay, if we're not going to live together, can we do this movie together? And I went to Sweden to do Hour of the Wolf. And then, of course, he was the man I loved, and I was the woman that he loved. So that's why The Cannibal turned into The Hour of the Wolf, because he wanted me, and it became that way because doing a new film together, we knew we couldn't part.
Kan de flytta stolen där? Kan du sänka lite grann?
The very movie begins in a striking way with overtones of a Persona. You hear the crew talking, and then you hear Bergman talking, and you hear the hammers and nails and the saws. They're building the set. So you know right away, this sounds like the crew making the movie, exposing the movie for what it is, only a movie. This is a construction. This is another story. This is another thing we're doing.
The first day, shooting day, I stand in the studio or on the location and have to make the first picture. I have the feeling this is the first time. It's always the first time, and I always making experiments. I always trying. I'm trying again. I try to express things. The only thing is that I have been at work now about 30 years. I have made, no, not 30, 27 years. So I made about 31 or 32 pictures. It's a lot. And yes. But
every film is the first.
Yes, it's always the first one.
As a director, he is very much aware of what can happen with actors if he doesn't take care of them. So it's very well organized, and that is very important. Very well organized and still you have a little space of freedom there you can put in things where you think that now I'm myself creative. And he can see other people's creativity. He's in that way very generous.
Jag köpte en tavla av en känd konstnär på den tiden. Jag har inga kommentarer, bästa Ernst. Och så hängde jag tavlan upp och ner i min salong och så bjöd jag hem konstnären tillsammans med en massa trevliga människor som förstod sig på ett gott skämt. Så vi skrattade den gången. Gud vad vi skrattade. Vad säger ni, herr konstnär? Var det inte ett roligt skämt?
Ingmar didn't really start when I worked with him to rehearse. He didn't rehearse Persona. He didn't rehearse Hour of the Wolf. In the first films I did with him, we would have blockings and things just before we shot the scene, but we never rehearsed several days before. We didn't know, we didn't discuss. And this is something with Ingmar. He does not want to discuss the script. He does not want to tell you what he meant with it and whatever. He says, I've written a script, and he allows for us to understand what we want to understand from the script.
Now, do you feel yourself to be what you might call a classical artist?
Oh, God heavens, no.
Strive for-
No, not yet. I'm not yet in the museum.
This is not
I'm still
necessarily-
alive. I'm still alive. I have always the same difficulties with the technique. I have always the same feeling of despair, of being unhappy, that I couldn't express what I wanted to express. And I'm always, in a way, surprised that now suddenly it is a picture. And that somebody has understood this picture, and that I come in contact and in touch with other people through these pictures. I feel always surprised, but I don't feel classical in any way.
Like other directors, they always say, and I think they mean it, that they're telling a story. They tell a story and they don't want to have an interpretation of what it means, which is symbols. And I think, for example, Over the Wolf, it can look like it was a lot of symbols there. And I don't think it is. It's a scaring story, narrated very simple, even if the persons are very scurril.
He's putting us into a genre that really he's never done before. Bergman will keep reminding us this is a horror movie, a vampire movie even. It's humorous at times, and yet it is overwhelmingly serious and scary even. And yet we know that he's playing the game every once in a while of doing the stunts and the things that makes everybody love vampire, or so many people like vampire movies or so on, but also doing what the vampire movie was doing indirectly, which made people at the same time kind of nervous and about death and the undead dead and evil and all that sort of stuff. So at that level, it's a very self-conscious movie, making the viewer self-consciously aware of what's going on and yet getting caught in it and being moved. And I know people who literally couldn't sleep after seeing that film. This is kind of where Bergman is now. It's not the way he was making movies before.
Something that I liked very much in Hour of the Wolf, it's the opening scene where the woman that I play, she's talking not even to Ingmar Bergman, the director. She is really talking directly to the camera.
Dagboken har jag fått. Du undrar varför jag tänker stanna här?
It gave me such a personal way of starting my part in this picture, and it also gave Ingmar Bergman a personal way to start his picture, because it made the audience know that it is through the eyes of this woman you are watching what is happening. And when she's affected by being with people of neurosis and demons and whatever, she starts to live their life. And the good thing for her in the end is that she leaves that life completely behind her. If you are living with somebody who is mad, if you're not careful, if you are an enabler, you'll end up being mad yourself.
God dag. Jaha, får jag lov att presentera min hustru Corinne?
Hjärtligt välkommen. Välkommen.
Min mor, grevinna von Merkens. Min bror Ernst.
Gläder mig. Det gläder mig.
Här är arkivarie Lindhorst.
Så roligt att möta er, jag är en av era varmaste beundrare.
Ja, och detta är kurator Herbrandt. Angenämt. Ja, vi har visst råkat förut.
Vill ni ha en drink?
Always when you do scaring films and expressive films, you have a lot of fun. You have to laugh between the shots. So I remember it was a very good period of my life. I was at that time just starting my job as a manager and director of the Royal Dramatic Theatre. So, but it was important, and there was a lot to do, but I absolutely wanted to be in that The Hour of the Wolf.
Förlåt mig, jag trodde... Ni är alltid välkommen, kära vän. Ni kommer, ni stannar, ni går, ni har er fullständiga frihet.
My part was, it was a sort of demon, which is always funny to do. Everyone who see the film says to me, how did you do? Do you walking up and down in the ceiling?
Det är bara min svartsjuka. Går i vägen, är snäll.
It was a trick.
Erland Josephson is a delightful person, and he's got a great sense of irony, and there's a bit of a twinkle in his eye. And of course, yes, Bergman gives us truth and reality, but what truth? What reality? Because the actors are living truths, whatever they are, however outlandish, and they're serious. They are in their roles.
Det fanns en tid när nätterna var till för sömnen.
The first time I met Max was in Hour of the Wolf, and we hit it off immediately. We know each other so well, and we did it immediately. We are also from the same kind of family of being a little shy and being a little awkward sometimes with a lot of people, and brought up to be very polite and to do the right things, and we liked each other tremendously. And we had great safety working together. And there was never any shyness, you know. I could do anything, and Max would just smile and think, great. And he could do anything, and I would just smile and feel great. We gave and take. No shyness between us.
There's a wonderful scene. A scene of the most horrifying humiliation that Johann, the painter, the artist, played by Max von Sydow, that he goes through. And it's when he's joined to his lover, Veronica Vogler, a name that Bergman uses often in his films, Vogler. But at a certain moment, the demons, the inhabitants of the castle, who have now turned into their monster, their real selves, or their whatever selves, and they're watching windows and so on.
Nej, bry dig inte om dem. Bry dig inte om dem. Bry dig inte.
Are they real? Well, they're certainly real to him when he sees them. Are they really real? Who knows? I can't help smiling because I think that's all part of the connivance of the film. This is what happens to us when we speak about horror movies or vampire movies. They're speaking about terrible things, possibilities, but at the same time, we sort of smile knowingly that, yes, of course, and particularly in this movie when this most suffering, dreadfully disintegrating man Yeah, the disintegration of the human personality. When we're seeing that in front of us, just as we saw the disintegration in the previous films, this is the disintegration period of film and of the main characters that Bergman's going through. Well, even when you're watching that, in The Hour of the Wolf, there tends at many times to be a smile on your face. You recognize them. You almost feel like saying, "Hi, Dracula." And Bergman does some outrageous things in it, of course.
Which were your greatest cinematic experience as a child?
I think that was my first projection machine. You know that.
Yeah.
Yes, I got it as a Christmas present, and it was a very small one. It was not electric. It was with fotogen. With the light was.
It's kerosene. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and. Was only a very small film in it, just a round one, about 3 meters long, and the name of it was Frau Holle. And today I don't know why the name was Frau Holle, because it was a young lady sitting on a meadow. The color of the picture was brown, you know. If you, as you remember,
the sepia.
Yes, sepia. And she was asleep. She wake up, and she was dancing around a little and out to the left. And then, you know, it started again and again and again. That is my most tremendous, enormous cinematic experience, because I was so fascinated. From that moment, I was so fascinated by the movement itself, if you understand what I mean, that I could make her move. If I made it slow, she moved very, very slow, and if I made this fast, she was dancing very fast and out. And even today, when I sit with an editing table, you know, editing my pictures, I can sit and find it extremely fascinating, extremely, just the magic of the movements, the shadow on my little screen, the shadows, moving shadows on the screen, is still exactly the same very childish fascination.
Ser ju vad du vet!
It's strange to see that film nowadays because it's so long ago. But what I find interesting also to see that all the actors there are mainly, at that time, stage actors. And that had influenced the acting a little bit. Yeah, I think in a very positive way, because it is a little bit brave, a little bit more expressive.
You know, there are 2 kinds of actors, or maybe 3. One is the real Stanislavski one, and where you go the whole day and you go home and you are the character, you know. That's not for me. And then there's a character where they are masked, you know, they do all this so you can hardly recognize them. And then they're kind of actor that I am, that I'm using myself, what I know of this emotion. And sometimes I may not even know the emotion, but reading the script and my fantasy starts going, I start to feel the emotion or something like the emotion. And I allow it to come through my face and through my body. I allow things to happen with me, but it's always through me. It's always using Liv to be the character. I must know the feeling. I cannot invent the feeling. But I have such a lot of fantasy. So in whatever situation I am, if I want to, I can allow it to kind of come through me and it can be shown. And I'm not scared of the camera. On the contrary, I'm much more scared with the person, if I'm to look at the person. But if I know there is a camera, the camera just makes me calm and fine, because I know that camera, if I'm truthful enough, that camera will also observe the truth in me.
I didn't like very much to make films. I think it was very funny to be in the studio, but the shooting there I thought was difficult because it was so many materials and technical things, other people. And I tried to not be aware of that there was a camera on my and live in the part and so on. And suddenly I can point out the moment when I felt that the camera is an erotic thing. You have to fall in love with it. You have to persuade it. And you have to be in competition with others about close-ups. So after that moment, I found it very, very, very nice and interesting to make films. So I mixed more theater and film after that.
Jeg mener at om jeg hadde elsket ham mindre og ikke brydd meg så mye om alt det der som fanns ikring ham, hadde jeg kunnet skydde ham bedre i så fall? Eller var det det at jeg ikke elsket ham tilrekkelig, som gjorde at jeg ble svartsjuk? Var det derfor som de der menneskeheterne, som han kalte dem, var det derfor som det gikk så forferdelig ille for oss?
Out of the Wolf was very personal for me, but I was very happy doing it because, again, maybe I didn't understand everything in the movie at that time, but neither did the person I played. I was not met by demons. I didn't wake up at 3 o'clock at night feeling the world was frightening. I wasn't filled of fear or anything. I was, as a matter of fact, in a very harmonic time of my life. I was expecting a baby with the man I loved. And I felt so much at peace. Lynn, as a matter of fact, was born before the movie was finished. I went back to Norway and gave birth, and some of the last scenes that we did, I did with a pillow on my stomach. And although the movie is not at peace, because the person who wrote it is not at peace, and he's always written about this, and the people in the movie, apart from myself, were not at peace, I was at peace, and that was the kind of character I was also showing. And maybe I should have listened to what that movie was telling. If you live with somebody who is not at peace, you yourself might fall out of peace, because that's what almost happened with the woman I'm playing in the movie. And if I'd been listening, I maybe should have taken my baby in my stomach and traveled back to Norway. But I continued the relationship with someone who wasn't so much at peace with the world as I was then. And it changed my life in many ways. But maybe I matured in a different way than I would have if I had taken my part and my baby in my stomach and went back to my home, which was Norway.
My feeling of that God doesn't exist is not a terrifying feeling. It's a feeling of security. It's a feeling of this is Earth, we are here, and the wholeness that exists, but because it exists, is inside us. And it is a creation of generations of hope, fear, desire, creative mind, prayers, and that still exists in me, and I'm very happy to have it inside me. It's one of the best parts inside me, but some sort of God outside, it's I have left it. It's ridiculous. I can't believe something like that.